Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining me today. The first conversation about kids learning a new language and how to support them at home. My name's Lorie, and I've been in English as a second language teacher for a long time, and I work with young learners and their families to help them speak more fluently and more confidently. If you feel like it, please feel feel free to say hello in the comments and tell me where you're tuning in from. I'd love to know where this is reaching, and if you have any questions, you can also add them to the comments, and I'll do my best to answer them throughout this short live. If you think of something afterwards, you're more than welcome to send me a message as well. So let's get into it. So, understanding versus speaking English. Many parents, I've heard, believe that if their child knows the rules, understands everything, then naturally they're going to start speaking English. But that's not the case. There's a step in between understanding and speaking that parents don't always realize. What is that? It's the sense of feeling safe. Now you may think, but my kid's safe. Yeah, they're safe, but do they feel safe to speak? It could be many reasons that could hold them back. One could be the language in your home. I had a student who spoke no English at home, and his mother came to me asking, how does he get a full mark in your English class when he speaks nothing at home and doesn't practice at home? And I had to explain to her, well, do you speak English at home or do you speak Arabic, their mother language? She said, no, we speak Arabic. This is one reason. He's not comfortable to speak English in a setting at home, though it's safe, but it's not comfortable because no one else speaks it. And this is one step that parents tend to forget. So it's very important to encourage, even if you don't speak English as well yourself, or you speak very little. If you support your child at home and they see you're trying to speak, that you're trying to listen, they will feel more comfortable to try as well. So smart children, we say smart, but every child is smart in their own way. So don't think when I say smart children that there's something wrong with your child. No. Every child is smart, they just learn in their own way. So smart children are often very cautious learners. What does that mean? It means that they don't want to make mistakes. They want to do the best they can because they want to make you, as their parents, they want to make you happy. They want to make their teachers happy. So they're going to be very cautious. Not only do they want to make those people happy, you and their teachers, but at the same time, all their peers, their classmates, they're also worried that if I make a mistake, they're going to laugh. So they're very cautious learners. They're listening, they're paying attention, even though they may not speak, they are listening and they are paying attention. So this is the time to keep encouraging your student and let them practice in ways that are comfortable for them. One way would be to set up a time in your home or in the park where they know at this time we're going to sit down together and we're going to do something fun that's related to English. It could be a game. It could be reading a story in English, and we don't need to worry about making mistakes. The idea is to be able to actually listen and hear the words. This is a very important thing to do at home and a very big help that parents can do to help us teachers in the classroom and online. So the fear of mistakes blocks the confidence that your child may have. Like I said before, they want to make you happy. They want to make their teachers happy. This is natural. This is native to every child. Think back when you were in school, when you were in the lower grades, in kindergarten, first grade, second. You were always wanting to make your teacher happy. You always saw when you came with a beautiful picture, how did your parents feel? How do you react? When they make a mistake, we don't want to call them out on it. Just like we make a big deal when they bring home a picture or they bring home a full mark or 9 out of 10 on spelling tests, or they did a very well reading in class. We make a big deal about it. It's like, oh, you got a full mark, yay! But then when they make a mistake, it's, why did you make this mistake? You know this. What happened? We don't want to call them out on the mistakes. We want to stay calm and we want to refresh their memory. Ask them, well, why did you think it's this answer? Help them work through the mistakes. This will make them feel more confident. It'll make them slow down and it'll make them help them to understand where their mistake was, and it'll naturally be corrected. But if we're always pushing, why did you get this wrong? We studied for hours. Like with my daughter. My daughter, when she was in school, her grandmother would sit and teach her because I speak Arabic, but I don't teach or read Arabic or write Arabic. So she did. My daughter would sit for hours with her grandmother studying and would know everything for the test the next day 100%. But then when she'd go to school, she would make a mistake or 2 or 3 and not get the grade that they were expecting. And what would happen after that? When she'd come home with the test, it's not, oh, you got 75. That's good. Keep trying. No, it was, you know this answer. Why you put it wrong? This you know. Why is it wrong? It was reinforcing the mistakes instead of actually reinforcing what she did well and helping to explain where her mistakes were. If we look at the mistakes as stepping stones, because no one is perfect. There is no one in this world, past, present, or future, that is 100% perfect. Even geniuses make mistakes. Albert Einstein, a great mathematician, failed math in school. So we're not perfect people. But how we use those mistakes, how we view them, and how we teach our children to view those mistakes really helps with their confidence. So instead of getting upset for mistakes, we need to reframe it, and say, why did you give this answer? Help them to work out the thinking process, and that will help them to understand. And without studying more, they'll actually get it right the next time or the time after that. It may take 1 or 2 times, but they will start to get it. So connecting to early and can slow down the speaking or correcting, I mean. When we have, as teachers, we have 2 ways that we correct, whether in classroom or online. We have what's called hot corrections, and we have cold corrections. Hot corrections is when, as soon as you hear a mistake, correct that. That's wrong. No, no. Also, we don't want to do it that way. When you hear a mistake, if it's something important that can affect their understanding, we want to correct it early. We want to correct it as soon as possible. However, we don't want to stop their flow. For example, if they're reading a story for school, if they're reading a subject for school, reading a passage, and they're reading it out loud for practice, and you hear a mistake. If they make a mistake, you want to wait until they get to the end of the sentence that the mistake is in, and then tell them, let's pause here. Let's stop. Let's read that sentence again. Look at this word. How do we say this word? Help them break the word down, okay, until they can say it correctly. They break it down into the little parts, and then they call decoding, and then they put it back together again and read the word again. Then they should read the whole sentence. This erases the mistake in their mind and puts the correction right away. This is what we call a hot correction. Cold correction is where they read the whole passage. You mark the words that they've said wrong, but you don't say anything until they finish. This is a cold correction. If they make a mistake reading, but you know they know the word, or they read the sentence incorrectly, they leave words out, or they add words in, let them keep going. If they're going through and they're not stumbling over things, let them finish reading and then go back and go line by line, sentence by sentence, word by word, depending on where their mistakes are. This is a cold correction. These are very helpful because a hot correction, if it's important for understanding, we want to catch it early and make sure that that mistake that they made is erased, but erased in a positive way, that they remember it next time. A cold correction, when they make a mistake that you know they shouldn't make, but they did it anyways. We wait till the end and then we go back. How do we say that word again? How do we say that? What does this mean? Ask them leading questions instead of, this is wrong, that is wrong. When we correct too early, what happens in the child's mind is, I'm bad, I'm wrong, I'm making mistakes, I'm not good, I don't understand. This is actually what goes in their minds, even though all you're doing is trying to help. So by reframing how we point out those mistakes will help the student, help your child to be more confident, to understand, okay, I make mistakes, but we're going to keep going. We're going to fix and keep going. So confidence comes before fluency. This is a big point, very important, because many people, especially those like you who are learning English, for example, as a second language, many people assume that if their child can read fluently, can read it quickly without mistakes, that they obviously can speak. That's not always true. So let me say that one more time. Confidence comes before fluency. Being able to see the words, it's easier to read, okay? But the confidence to speak comes from practice. Even though they can read fluently, They may not be comfortable actually speaking because they're having to use their own voice, their own words, and many times their own views and opinions. And all this time, they've been being taught this is the right answer, this is the wrong answer, this is right, this is wrong. So now, when you want them to speak, now they have to use their experience, their own personal views, their own feelings to start expressing themselves. And that confidence may not actually be there. So, how parents can support at home? How can you help your kids at home? Like I said before, it's about reframing or changing the way we view mistakes. Many cultures around the world, they view mistakes as something that a lot of times can be shameful. Even in America, I've heard parents say, it's a shame. That's shameful. You shouldn't do that. That's a shame. That's bad. Why is that mistake? It puts a sense of, it lowers the sense of self-worth in a child when we focus on the mistakes that they make. We need to remember, and this is a very important mindset for parents and teachers, because I've even seen teachers who do this. We need to remember that mistakes will happen. No one is perfect. Teachers make mistakes, like you saw at the beginning, and parents make mistakes. Grandparents, children, we all make mistakes. It's how we use those mistakes, how we view those mistakes, how we use them as stepping stones to get better. Like I said at the beginning, we naturally learn our first language by trial and error. We make mistakes. We start making sounds, then we put sounds together, then we start forming small words, then we start associating those words with things. Like you may have a child that says duck and it's a duck, or they may say buck for duck, but they're making that connection. As long as we take those mistakes, think back to the natural way we learned our languages. If we think about how those mistakes are stepping stones for improvement, this will help our children gain the confidence, and not just confidence, but the self-esteem and self-worth of themselves, for themselves, that they will become more confident to speak and express themselves in class, outside in public, in different situations, and at home. Learning a language that's different from your own, whether it's English, like I teach, or French, or Spanish, or Russian, or Arabic, whatever the language is that you want your child to learn that's second to your own. If we remember that those mistakes help us grow, help your child to grow, the confidence in them will grow, and they will be more willing to actually try and speak without having the fear of mistakes holding them back. Does that make sense? Change the view of the mistakes. Mistakes are not the bad thing. They are not the things that we need to focus on. Yes, we need to correct. Don't get me wrong. We need to correct those mistakes. But it's how we correct the mistakes that's going to help our children to gain the confidence, the self-esteem, and the self-worth to go out and actually try to speak, to express their ideas. to express their opinions, to have confidence to try new things. I had a student who did it in China who did not like English, did not like it at all. It was always telling me English is too difficult. It's too much. I can't do it. I spoke to him not long ago. We reconnected, and he told me after the classes that we had, he actually felt the confidence to go and enter an English speaking competition in his town, in his city. And he got 5th place. He made it to the 5th place in that competition. So choosing how we look at mistakes, instead of focusing on it and assuming that we need our student, our child you need to study harder. It's not how hard we study, it's how effectively the child will study. Are we giving them the tools to rethink their mistakes and work out the process to do it the right way? Or are we just building more roadblocks that are going to hold them back from success? So supporting your child starts with understanding. Understand your child. Understand that you may have 2 children at home. You may have 5 children at home. You need to understand and recognize that every child is different. Every child learns differently. Every child learns at their own pace, their own speed. You may have a child that can open a book and like this, they are reading and they are understanding and they are getting top marks in their class every year. Straight A's, all 100s. Wonderful. You may have a child that only gets C's, all 70s. Although you may not like it, those are still good grades. They're learning at their own rate, their own pace. And we need, as parents and educators, as teachers, we need to remember this. Every child learns differently. They learn in their own way, and they learn at their own pace. It's up to us to support their way of learning and help them get the tools, build the tools to help them succeed. It's not how fast we get to the end of the journey, but the journey that's important. Just like taking a trip. It's not how fast you get from your hometown to your destination. It's the trip along the way. It's the journey, all the adventures, all the mishaps, all the mistakes, all the fun times along the way from beginning to end. Remembering that is going to help them to understand the language, help them to get past the barriers that they feel, the fear, the uncertainty, okay, and help them to succeed and grow. I hope this has been helpful for you. I hope that you learned something today. And next week, we'll be back again. I will be back again for another episode about supporting your children in their journey to learn a new language, whether it's English or another language. And I hope to see you then. And don't forget, if you have any questions, if you think of anything, you're more than welcome to catch my replay on YouTube. Have a great day, and thanks a lot for joining me. It's been fun, and I hope you've learned something.